the 20, Johnson back, pressure on, throwing over the middle, complete to the 10, touchdown Williams.
Welcome to the Crowdsline College Football Show podcast. I'm Kevin Trimble, and once again, I've got college football insider Brett McMurphy from Stadium Network with us. Brett, how are you?
Hey, good to talk to you again, Kevin.
Well, it's great talking to you. What's amazing is that you would think that within 24 hours of the first college football playoff poll coming out, that the college football headlines are dominated by something else. And that something else, as we both know, is what's going on at Maryland. And, you know, the death of Jordan McNair in May last year. And obviously DJ Durkin was put on administrative leave, and this went on and on and on. Matt Canada's got this team, you know, they're one win away from a bowl, which is amazing in itself. But in a 24-hour period, you have the Board of Regents recommends that, hey, DJ Durkin will keep his job. And then within 24 hours, you know, Wallace Lowe, the president, oh, by the way, who's also going to announce his retirement next year, they then fire him. And, you know, my question to you is there a perception, or is it just me, of a lack of accountability in college athletics right now? And at what point does, you know, where does, in the words of Harry Truman, you know, the buck stops here? At what point, where does the buck stop? I'd love to hear your points on that.
Well, it's just a very confusing situation at Maryland. I mean, our sources told me that basically Wallace Lowe, the Maryland president, wanted to fire DJ Durkin. And this was from at least a week ago. And basically the Board of Regents made it clear that if that was obviously Lowe's prerogative, and if he wanted to fire him, go ahead. But if you do that, then we will immediately end your contract as president at the university. And so Lowe backed off of that. And so then you saw on Tuesday that DJ Durkin was reinstated. I don't know if you noticed or not, if you saw the press conference, Wallace Lowe, when he spoke, he never once mentioned DJ Durkin's name. I thought that was pretty curious. And then we fast forward 24 hours, and DJ Durkin, after being reinstated, is then fired. So I think what caught most people by surprise is you've got, you know, the situation didn't change. Nothing changed. So why the change in going from reinstated to firing? Well, I heard the Board of Regents is a mess. You've got all these different people all going in different directions. They all have their different agendas, and they're either political mindset, or the games whatever they're trying to get accomplished, either for themselves or for their other people. And they're just not all working together, going in the same direction. And it's unfortunate for Maryland. You got a team that's done fairly decently this year. Remember, they beat Texas in the opener. And then they're one win away from bowl eligibility. They've got a tough schedule: Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana. They need to win one of those four. Obviously, Indiana would be the most likely candidate. But now you wonder what's in the mindset of these players. They've had distractions all year, and now certainly in the last 48 hours, they've gone from thinking that Durkin was back to now Durkin's fired. And, you know, now the Board of Regents has announced at 2 p.m. on Thursday they will have another meeting. You know, who knows what in the world they're going to meet about now. So, again, this is, we don't have many soap operas left on TV anymore, but certainly this would be prime fodder if you did have a soap opera, because that's what has happened at College Park, in the past several weeks.
Well, I'm looking forward to, you and I have always talked about, hey, maybe later in the year we'll talk about the coaching carousel and who'd be the most likely hires. Well, what comes out here also is, DJ Durkin brings up that, hey, your strength and conditioning coach is, it's the most important hire you have. You hear that often. And you look at places like Alabama, and I remember hearing about, the guy Rich Rodriguez, and his name skips me, but the guy that Rich Rodriguez had at West Virginia and then had at Michigan, very, scratchy voice, yeller, screamer guy. But you look at those folks, and I'm wondering, okay, is this going to, be a new part of the job interview? Okay, who are you going to hire as your offensive coordinator? Who are you going to hire as your defensive coordinator if we hire you? But who's your strength and conditioning coach going to come in? And the reason I ask you that, just something to look at, I think back to, as you know, I work with a fella that used to coach football named Lou Holtz, and he talks about in his lessons in integrity and things like that. He said one time his center at North Carolina State slept for 20 minutes in class. And he said, well, okay, as your punishment, he says, you're going to run 2 miles a day for 20 straight days. And that was his offensive center, and it was a guy named Bill Cower. And I go back now, and this goes back to people don't change, environments change. But I look at North Carolina State center right now, and his name is Garrett Bradbury, and he's 6'3" and 300 pounds. Okay? Can you imagine if, his punishment was to run 2 miles a day for 20 days straight? Could that happen? I don't know. But I think about this whole strength and condition, this, crazy, and then, are the complaints valid? At Maryland, I don't, early on, who knows? But I wonder, are you going to see more things change, much like the helmet to helmet and all that type of stuff? Do you think this whole strength and conditioning is going to come under even more of a microscope, and hopefully it does? What do you think?
Well, certainly, I would think so. I mean, I think you could go to any program in the country and you could find people that are upset either about playing time or the way that they were treated, or felt like they were mistreated. I mean, you're not going to have 100% people on board. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think because of obviously let's not forget the tragedy, Jordan McNair's death. Because of this, I think there's probably going to be more attention placed on strength trainers and possibly workouts. And, I think we've already seen a change in that already where, I know you remember the old days, coaches wouldn't let you drink water. And now it's, they're drinking, between every play. So they're taking more safeguards, but certainly, with all the seriousness of what have happened and certainly the issues that have dominated the headlines in the past couple of years, I think you'll see more and more scrutiny with strength staffs and, just being able to monitor everything. It's kind of a fine line. You want to push them to the limit, but you don't want to overstep the boundaries or overstep the line. And certainly part of that's up to the individual to know kind of what their limitations are too. So, the more attention brought to this, better, because the fewer tragedies we have, obviously, is the best thing for the game going forward.
Well, I'm going to keep tracking this because this is always near and dear to my heart, because I believe that culture and process are the key to winning, whether it's in business, whether it's in sports, whether it's in anything. And with a culture, as you know, you got to adapt to the current environment. But speaking of current environments, what's your upset current environment this week? Because my upset's tonight. What's your upset?
Wow, that would be a big one if Temple pulls off the win tonight. I'm going with Northwestern over Notre Dame. Northwestern has been really good as an underdog. Actually, the underdog has covered in the last 9 Northwestern games. No matter whether Northwestern was a favorite or the underdog has covered the last 9. And this is a good team. I mean, we look what they probably should have beat Michigan. They get Notre Dame in Evanston, a rare trip for Notre Dame to go there. In kind of a weird way, it's almost like, well, you wonder how Northwestern will look at this game, because now they're atop the Big Ten West, and obviously their number one goal is to win the conference and get to the Rose Bowl. But certainly Notre Dame's a special game. Pat Fitzgerald knows what it means to his team. And you're catching Notre Dame coming off a Navy game. A lot of teams say that it's hard to play after that because all the cut blocks and, kind of takes out of your legs. And maybe that's a 2-week process to recover from that. So I think Northwestern, if Clayton Thorson can have time to throw, it's going to be a crazy atmosphere there. And Northwestern knocks off the Irish. Please don't tell Coach Holt about that, because I know his response. But I'm going with the Wildcats.
Well, I'm telling you, I would not be surprised, especially, what is it? They're going to go up there in like 40,000 seat Ryan Stadium. There'll be some purple. There'll still be a bunch of Notre Dame fans, because they'll buy the tickets, away from the Wildcats. But I tell you, I've got Temple beating UCF. The Mackenzie Milton questionable. Running back Armstead for Temple is also questionable, but Jeff Collins has got some tough. But all we've heard about in the AAC all year is UCF, maybe with a smattering of USF. But I think there's a great chance the AAC championship game is going to be Temple and Houston. And like I was telling somebody the other day, people keep talking about UCF. Maybe Ed Oliver's going to have something to say about that at the end of the season. So we'll see. We'll know tonight. I don't know what you're hearing about Mackenzie Milton. Is he 100%, 50%? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's certainly a big game for UCF because everyone in college football will be watching UCF, and the fans have clamored that they deserve to be a top 10 team. Certainly they're not happy being ranked number 12 in the college football playoff rankings. Quite frankly, I think they're ranked too high, but this is a chance for them to show the country what they're all about. Do they come out and play loose and free and put up a ton of points like they've done all year, or maybe do they play tight, play not to win? And I tell you, if they play not to win, then I think Temple's got a good shot here because Temple's already beat Maryland. They played Boston College close. They handed Cincinnati their first loss 10 days ago. Can they do the same to UCF?
Well, we're going to see. I'm excited, and I looked at talking to you about it again, see your tweets, and we'll check that in the morning, especially also if I'm going to put that out right now that I've got Brett McMurphy's picking the Wildcats, but I'm sure Coach already knows. All right. Well, listen, Brett, it's been wonderful. I really appreciate it on this great Thursday. It's actually cooled off where we live, so this is nice. And I look forward to talking to you and talking more about college football.
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, thank you, buddy, and I'll talk to you soon. It's a Crowdsign College Football Podcast with Kevin Trimble, and that was our friend Brett McMurphy from Stadium Network. Listen to us on our website, and you can get the podcast there at www.thecrowdsign.com or download our podcast and watch our video. Our show's exciting. Thank you.